sons. Many sons had Father Abraham's. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the Lord. So you all didn't know I could sing, right? Yeah, you didn't know. You didn't know. Good morning. Oh my gosh, I'm so overjoyed to see all of you this morning. I want to thank you so much for coming out. I want to thank Major Riddick for that introduction done on the fly there, and to also just thank him for his loyalty and his service. As he mentioned, he could have easily been on the golf course, but he thought it not robbery to come and assist me, and I tell you, boy, he has really been there. So thank you so much to Major. I also want to thank my pastor, Pastor John K. Jenkins, for being here this morning. Thank you so much, Pastor Jenkins. And I could go on and on and on. I have been in his pastoral care now for about 15 years. And he has just been, words just aren't enough, how superb he has been for me and for my family and my daughter, the leadership, the guidance, the prayer, in difficult moments, in moments that have gone well. But he has been there every time I call. He has been there to give me the direction that I have needed, and I am just so grateful. So thank you so much to Pastor. And you know what? I thought first of all, it would shock and surprise you that you didn't know your county executive really could not sing, okay? So all the talents God gave me, that was not one of them. But I thought it was so befitting of this occasion that we should come together as a community, interfaith community, and to really celebrate under one roof the fact that we are woven together by faith. And I was excited about this particular breakfast because it is no secret that Prince George's County is deeply spiritual, and that one of the greatest assets we have as a community is our faith. We are characterized by our faith. Prince George's County, the place that has over 800 churches, and that really is the backbone of Prince George's County. It seemed to me so appropriate that we would come together as a faith community to discuss the future of Prince George's County and to talk about the people that we love and serve. And so I thought it would be so appropriate to start out with that song. I also want to acknowledge my cousin, Pastor Deborah James, who is here this morning, seated at the table with us. Deborah's father, Pastor Lester James. Many of you knew him. He was a pastor of Zion Hill Baptist Church. Her father is my grandmother's brother. And so very close, and he was sort of a grandfather to me, and just really, she's now leading Zion Hill Baptist Church as a senior pastor there, and we're very proud of her. And what I can tell you is that I grew up as a child, and I loved going to Zion Hill Baptist Church, and Uncle Lester, as I called him, as I said, was like a grandfather to me, but I loved going to that church. I would go there with my grandmother. And we would do church the way that we did church then, all day long. And so we'd go to church first thing in the morning, take a break, have a little lunch at the church. My grandmother, who I just loved to pieces, would then fill me up with candy at the little candy store by the church. And then we'd go back for evening service. And I enjoyed being at that church so much, and I enjoyed hearing Uncle Lester preach so much that I have to tell you, when that service was over, during the week, my sister and I would decide we were going to have service again. And so we enjoyed it. It was one of the things we loved to do at my grandmother's house. And my sister was dutiful. She would read the announcements. She'd be happy to offer the announcements. She'd also offer a selection. And after she offered her selection, I was given a Bible. I was baptized at 9, and I was given a Bible by my parents. And I have to tell you, I would open that Bible and pick a scripture. And then I would preach to my sister, and I would offer the message with great conviction to my sister there at the top of the stairs at my grandmother's house. And so I just loved worship is what I came to understand. Two things. My grandmother and my family taught me to love worship and to know the joy in it. But the other thing that I understood at a very young age was that my faith was supposed to help others. My faith was supposed to make me better. My faith was supposed to make me care about the plight of other people. That is what I came to understand deeply about faith. And nobody demonstrated that better for me than my grandmother. Her name was Leela James. We called her Grandma Lily, and we loved Lily. And Lily showed me the truth in faith. I would say that she put the skin on Christ for me in the way that she lived. And so I just really came to understand what it meant. Now, Lily was a Southern lady. She was from South Carolina, and you know what that means. She could cook. Oh my gosh, these South Carolinian women could cook. And one of the things that Lily would do was to cook food, and she would fill these styrofoam containers. Now, she would have been fined for this today because we don't allow styrofoam anymore. So she would have been fined for using this styrofoam right now. But she would fill those containers with food. And she would then say to me and to my sister, now you go outside and you go to get Bill Cole. It was one of her neighbors. Tell Mr. Cole, she would say, to tell him to come on over. There was a guy named TC. You go tell Mr. TC to come over. And there were several others that she would come over and get their dinner. Mr. Cole was a veteran who suffered from mental illness. TC was what we call in our community as a drunk. You know, if I'm honest about it, he was a person who was very sick with alcohol and would walk the streets all day. And she would have me to have various people to come by and get their dinner from her house. Now, she never mentioned their condition because to her it didn't matter, their condition. What she saw in them was their humanity, and she saw the need. And I reflect on the fact that we referred to each of them by their last name. It was Mr. Cole. No matter his condition, it was Mr. Cole. Please ask him to come by and have his dinner. She respected her neighbors, no matter their condition, and she taught me it by example what it was to love and care for people, that was what our faith was supposed to do, was to help us to know how to care for those who were in need. And now Grandma Lily never got any awards or accolades for the work that she did. And I could go on all day about what I witnessed in her, all of the people she helped take her coat off. I was riding with her one day. She was driving down the road, literally pulled her car over with a woman who was walking there, who was clearly mentally ill and was in the cold, and took her coat off and just put it over her shoulders. Got back in the car, we drove off without a word. This is who she was. But she never received any awards for what she did. She just wanted to do good. This is who she was as a person of faith. Now, having said that, Chief Stawinski would be happy to know that my grandmother, who was an active member of the Deanwood Civic Association, would also call the police on you. Okay? In fact, at the time, she lived over in Deanwood, and in the 1980s, we had the drug epidemic happening. And so her local police department, she called so often, they gave her a code. I remember hearing her call. She said, this is caller 2122. And so now she would call the police on you. And what was hilarious is that Lily, who was 4'11", after she made her call to the police department, would go right on outside and just walk over to the corner and say, now, honey, I've called the police, and I want each of you now to go into your house. So she would let the people know who she just called the police on, that she called the police. Honey, I've called the police. Now you go on home. You hear me? And so she was a person who I learned so much about, but more than anything, learned about dignity. And so my grandmother was a daughter of Abraham. And she understood, like we all do, that we are woven together by our faith. And she had a great understanding of the complexities of human beings because of her faith. It informed her. And I believe that the principles that are found in Micah, the 6th chapter and the 8th verse, tells us really compels us to action is what it does. And it resonates as well in the Torah and the Quran when it says, he has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. History has shown us that there are so many times where we must act together justly. When justice calls upon us, we have acted together. We've acted together. If we reflect on the civil rights movement, it was our Jewish brothers and sisters who locked arms with us, who stood with us as we faced segregation, who helped us to fight against segregation and the evils of it. We've been called together when justice required to stand with our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community who have been attacked, not only by this president, but others who have attacked the Muslim community. We have stood together with them and proclaimed that we are united, that we are woven together as humans and by our faith. And because we have been woven together, we know as well that great things happen when we have worked together. We know that our faith calls on us to love mercy, which is why even as state's attorney, I really thank so many of you in this room who came when we made the call and said, I want you to assist me so that we can lift up our children and not lock up our children, because our faith calls upon us to show mercy. When I have said to you that our young people need us, that they are in trouble, that they are harming each other and harming themselves, you have come to my aid. And so I'm calling on you again now. And I'm reminded, Tara Jackson is here, and you're going to hear from her in a little while. She is one of our Deputy Chief Administrative Officers, and she said to me she was our principal deputy in the State's Attorney's Office. And she came to my office one day and said, Angela, you know that we are salt and light. I said, we are salt and light. And she said, we're supposed to heal, bring down conflict, and we have to do this thing so well that when we have done it, people wonder what the light is about. Well, we have to be able to represent well because we are believers, and that is who we are. And so I come to you because we also must offer ourselves in service, to do so humbly and to walk upright. And there is no time like today to do that. That in our community right now, where we are facing so many challenges, I'm going to just be honest about it. The reason I've called you is because I can't do it alone. I cannot do it alone. What I do understand, and Dr. Golson and I have talked about this, and again, I'm just going to be honest with you. I have professed the faith, and so we can't fail at this. We cannot fail. We understand already what the need is, and they are great. But we believe that with the faith community as our partner, we can conquer these challenges in a way that they have never been conquered before. And the truth of it is, because we have professed the faith, we want people to say when we have left this work that it's been done better than we have ever seen it done before. And I can only do that if you help us. And so when we say that we are a behavioral health desert in Prince George's County, many of you know what I mean by that. That there are those who are sitting in your pews and in your mosque and in temple who suffer greatly every day, who are suffering from mental illness in a place where it is stigmatized to say that I am suffering, I am hurting, and I need some help. You will see them in many instances before we will. And we want to be partners to make sure that we're working to serve those people and their families. We've already done this work together in domestic violence, when because of mental illness in many instances, we saw individuals who were not only harming themselves and their partners, but they were killing their children. Killing babies, 2-year-old babies, 1-year-old babies. This is really the product that we're seeing of this mental illness. And so we will come to you to ask you for your help as we work against the behavioral health desert. And we call it that because we don't have nearly as many resources as we should, but we're working to improve that. We also will come to you to say, let's serve, to make sure that we're serving our elders. And I know the faith community does a magnificent job in this area. Teresa Grant's is shaking her head, and I want to thank her for the work that she's doing with our seniors. But let us not be said that those who have served us, like my Lily, ever go without. And this government is committed, firmly committed, to making sure that we eliminate any of the barriers that our seniors have to enjoying the latter part of their lives. We have 14,000 people in Prince George's County who suffer from Alzheimer's. And often they suffer secretly. Their family members who are their caregivers, some are who are what I'm told is a sandwich. They're taking care of both their children and their parents at the same time. So we have caregivers who are sandwiched, who need our support and our help. But 14,000 individuals, and I've gone other places and seen the adult daycare facilities and other things to assist families, and we have to make sure, again, that our community members, our seniors, are cared for as well, and we want to do that work together. Making sure as well that our disabled population, there are parents who have just hurt my heart so much to hear them say, you know, we have children with developmental disabilities and nobody cares about us. What do I do for my child who I want to make sure has employment or activities and other help and support? It is hard for me, and so we want to make sure that we work together to help those families as well who are caring for their children. And then let me say about education, and Dr. Golson's going to speak for herself in a moment. First of all, let me just say thank God for Dr. Monica Golson, right? Oh my gosh. Wow. You talk about an answered prayer. Have you all noticed? And I was saying, talking this morning also to Pastor Joanne Browning, who I want to thank as well. My parents have been members for 35 years at Ebenezer AME Church, and I grew up there as well with Dr. Golson. But we were saying, people have been saying to me, well, what'd you do to quiet down that school system? To quiet down the school system where leadership matters, as it turns out. And we have a leader who is just phenomenal and who loves these kids like her own. But we are interested in not only teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, but you should know the character is important as well. And these are messages that can be best conveyed through the faith community. You know, people throw stones at me when I have to speak these messages to them to say that it is difficult for your kids to be successful if you don't show up. It is difficult. To train a child and discipline a child is the responsibility of a parent and that in their community and family. It is not the responsibility of the school system to discipline and train a child. We have to teach children, but training children should happen at home. It should happen at home. I'll tell you a quick story. I went to our summer youth enrichment program, and I was all happy, bounced in, I think it was a 14-year-old, 15-year-old group. So I'm familiar with this group. I have a 14-year-old at my house, and I already knew what this was about. So I came in, and I gave them the happy-go-lucky message, and when I walked out, I said to one of the people leading them, well, how is it going? And then she said, oh, Lord, these kids are on the phone. We can't get them off the phone. They're rolling eyes and smacking lips and everything else and won't do anything we say. And I said, oh, my goodness. So I went back in and, I had to say it. Listen, this is a privilege that we offer you, summer employment. And if you can't listen to what we say, you get 2 warnings. On the second one, you go home. It's just that easy. But we owe that to our kids, to train them well. If we want them to succeed, then we must train them so that they can succeed. But that is a message that will come well through the faith community. And finally, I want to just talk about, again, opportunities for kids. That summer youth enrichment program this summer, we were just so delighted and so blessed that we were able to double the capacity. And Sean Stokes is here. I know I saw her a little while ago. And I want to just thank, there she is, Sean, who is director of our Office of Human Resource Management. That's a bad lady, Sean Stokes. And I just want to thank her. I came to that team and said, we want to increase the employment from 3,000 to 6,000. And I gave them probably 4 or 5 months to get this done. This is tough to do, to find jobs and to pair everybody up. But you know what? She and her team roll their sleeves up. I didn't want any child who wanted a job to go without this summer. And there was a story I have to tell you that has just continued to bless me. I went to one of the sites. There's a woman named Unisha Davis who leads our human relations department. And she said, Angela, a lot of our kids don't have computers and devices to even apply for the jobs. We're going to have to go out into the community and make sure we can sign them up. We did that. We had over 10,000 applicants this summer, but we would go out to libraries, and we were this day at the Community of Hope with Reverend Tony Lee signing up some of the applicants, when I happened to just walk by a young lady who said, may I talk to you? I said, sure. And she said, I'm afraid that I might get lost. And I said, get lost? And she said, yes, I'm 18. I dropped out of college. I do not currently have a job, and I'm afraid that I might get lost. And I looked at her and said, you know how much courage it took for you to say that to me? I just want to honor you for the courage it took for you to say that. And I told her, you will not get lost. And so Unisha came over, and we worked with the young woman. She worked in our summer program this year. She did a phenomenal job. She was hired. She's working in the government now. She started her job a few weeks ago. I hear that she is doing phenomenal work, but I received a card from her about 3 days ago, and this card almost took me to my knees. Well, this girl wrote and said, I did not have any support in my family, emotional, financial. And she said, on that day, I just took a leap of faith to speak out and to touch you and to tell you the need that I had, and said her whole life had been changed, that this job, and she said she is, Prince George is proud, said she is going to work as hard as she can, but we cannot afford to spare a single young person, not a single young person. And so those are the opportunities that we continue to have. And again, we will do them best when we work with our faith leaders. So I will say to you, we have invited today, we have our chief again, this is my brother from another mother. Love this man, Chief Stawinski. We've been working together for over the years, but we have lots of our other directors of agencies who are present this morning. As a matter of fact, if you are here and I see also Mr. McGaw, we have, in our fire, the soon-to-be new fire chief, Tiffany Green, good grief, who is here as well. If you are here from the government, would you just stand to be recognized this morning? If you are here working in our government, can you just stand? The leadership, Gloria Brown. All right. Elena Delon Butler, Melinda Bowling. And the reason, Jonathan Butler, and the reason that we have brought these folks together is this government belongs to you. So the point of today's breakfast as well was to say we are here at your service. It is not just that we're asking you to help us, but I wanted to assemble everyone here from the folks who do permitting. Melinda is here, and I know Tara will talk about it in a moment, who is the Director of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. And many of the issues that you will encounter in your church are issues that we will have to work through together. I wanted you to know the leadership when you could see them this morning so that you know that we are here to serve you, that this government is open to you. You will have them here to talk to even after we leave. We want you to have their names and their phone number, cell phone number, so that you know that if you need us for anything, you don't have to go to 6 or 7 or 8 people. You know who you can get to immediately to resolve the issue that you might find. And again, if it's permitting, it may be an issue where you need family services right on the spot. It may be an issue with a family member, a family in your church who has a child in the school system. Dr. Golson's here. It may be a crime issue. Whatever it is, we want you to know that this government is open, and that we are here to serve you, and that we will continue to work together to resolve the issues that we care about. So I will be seated soon, or else I'm sure somebody's going to start ringing a bell and telling me that my time is up. But I just have to say thank you to all of you for being here this morning, to tell you that what an honor it is. I do this work with so much joy because I know that it's not owed to you. This is the greatest blessing of my life. The community that raised me has given me the opportunity to serve. And I tell you, the secret is I'm having so much fun. It's unbelievable. It is, I'm having more fun than I deserve. And I am just so grateful to be able to serve. I ask you for your prayers, not only for this community, because as Pastor Jenkins said, and he is right about it, there is no place like Prince George's County. And I don't say that just because I'm the county executive. Just travel the country. Just go on your own. Just travel the country, and I dare you to find a place that is quite like Prince George's County. It is simply amazing. I went yesterday to BizNow, which was a business group, and we were there with about 300 or 400 business leaders who were looking for places to invest. And it's an easy sell to come to Prince George's County. Prince George's County, by the way, is in the top 4% in terms of the wealthiest counties in the country. And I don't mean wealthiest African American, because that's what most people think we're talking about. We are in the top 4% in terms of wealthiest counties in the country. So we don't need to beg anybody to come here and do business. And by the way, I'm just going to put this right here. We want to develop. We're going to develop, but not at any cost. Not at any cost. We will develop, and we will have businesses here that serve our needs, that benefit us, and that will come here on our terms. And so we believe, we have so much confidence in our community, and we know, again, we want the businesses to come. The energy was so high yesterday because we have all the assets here in Prince George's County. Transportation, you just name it, we have it. And so this is a great place and at a great time. And with your prayers, they're never going to forget the great things that we are going to do here. So thank you again for being here. I'm going to thank you in advance for the work that we will do together. And may God bless all of you all, and may God continue to bless Prince George's County. Thank you.